Hi ladies and gents, welcome back. Today we're going to have a look at a new unseen poem. It's called Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. Get your title down, underline it. Our learning objective is to explore how a poet uses symbolism, tone and structure to share their views on childhood. So just so we're really clear, symbolism, we're talking about symbolism here. A symbol is something that represents something else. Maybe it's an idea or shape or design, and it represents a bigger idea. So shape, design, or item that represents something else. So, for example, a cross represents Christianity, or crescent moon represents Islam. Those are symbols of those religions. Okay, now, whilst we're reading the poem today, I just want to recap and remind us of our vocabulary that we learned, because our vocabulary is going to help us to access the poem and to analyse it really effectively. So there's our first two pieces of versatile vocabulary from today that you learned. The first one is permanent, and the second one is ephemeral. Okay, so they're our new big hitters. They're ones that we want to use especially, but then we also have our ones from previous lessons that we're going to want to remind ourselves of, especially the ones that we've used recently. We've got emotional and rational. We've got vulnerable and secure. Running out of space here. We've got chaos and order. And we've got moral and immoral. I could probably have written down that down in a slightly better order, but I did not. We also have all of the other pieces of vocab that we're just bringing across that have actually been really useful for us so far. So then we also have superficial. We've got privilege, and we've got veneer. Really useful words that we can use to attack this text too. So once we've got those words in our mind, we're just thinking, well, these are things that we can recycle and we can use again. And we're having a look at kind of symbolism in this poem. What things are symbolic of things that are permanent, of things that are ephemeral, that don't last long, things that are symbolic of chaos or order or vulnerability. We can keep that in our mind as we read through. So, for the first reading of the poem, as usual, we'll just be reading it through, no notes. So the poem is called Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. It's by E. Cummings. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May went down to the beach to play one day, and Maggie discovered a shell that sang so sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles, and Millie befriended a star whose rays 5 languid fingers were. And Molly was chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways whilst blowing bubbles, and May came home with a smooth round stone as small as a world and as large as a loan. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea. Okay, so that's our first read through. What I want us to do now is just really quickly follow the same process of quickly summarise each of the stanzas in 2 to 3 words. Okay, that's what we're looking for max. So what's happening in stanza 1? What are they doing? Let's be honest and be really simple. We'll start it off together. Friends go to beach. Or if you want to knock that down to fewer words, friends plus beach. Nice and simple. So the next one is on to you guys. Number 2. In 2 to 3 words, what's the focus here? Number 3. 2 to 3 words. Number 4, the same process. Number 5, the same process. Number 6. So what you'll have done now is you'll have traced the narrative of the poem. You've kind of worked out the story of the poem. Okay, let's see what we thought that was about. So we've got stanza 1, then we've got stanza 2. So shell, she discovers a shell, and it's saying really sweetly she couldn't remember her troubles. Shell equals forgets problems. Her troubles are her problems. Then Millie befriended a stranded star whose 5 languid fingers were. Okay. Girl befriends, and I'm thinking, what, a regular star? No, it's a beach. It's going to be what? It's going to be a starfish. Okay, it's languid, kind of lazy fingers. Molly chased by a horrible thing which raced sideways whilst blowing bubbles. She is, how does she feel about that crab? Well, she is chased by it, so she's scared of, and what is that horrible thing? What races sideways? Normally a crab if you're on a beach. Could be another child, I guess. So I'm just going to write crab, but we don't really know. So it could be a crab or it's just some unknown thing. Breaking my rules here, I've added an extra word. May came home with a smooth round stone, as small as a world, as large as alone. So she's taken something home, this stone. When we take something home, it is a souvenir. And I've got this sense here that she feels what emotion? Small as a world and as large as alone. I reckon there's something a little bit lonely going on here. So I'm just going to put a question mark. For whatever we lose, like a you or a me, it's always ourselves we find in the sea. So we always find ourselves in the sea. So what's this last bit? About discovery. We find ourselves at the beach. We always end up there. Or is the sea a symbol for something else? These are some of the questions we want to ask ourselves. Discovery, sea equals symbol. And then a symbol of what? Those are the questions I'm going to want to ask myself afterwards. So, all in all, we've got what seems like quite a simple poem. Some girls go to the beach. And let's jot down our speaker here. Who is telling the story? Is it one of the girls? No. It seems to be some kind of narrator telling the story. What's the tone? Well, the tone seems to be there's no capital letters. There's lots of ands. It seems to be quite childlike and quite innocent. And then the narrative. What's the narrative? What's the story? That's the bit I want you to do. What's the narrative? What's this the story of? Let's take 30 seconds to write that down. If you need to pause it, please do. Right, now we've done our 2 reads. I want to go through the first process of just annotating the title. So get this down neatly into your books or your page, whatever you're using. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. Okay, so I guess the first thing that I want us to think about This is a group of what? Okay, tell me what it's a group of. How are they related to each other? What's their relationship, most likely? Then we have this lack of capitals. No capital letters at all. Give me 2 reasons why that's important. What does it show us? What does it reveal to us? They don't have capitals. So what? Tell me. Is it that they're not important? Is it to do with their age? Is it to do with the fact that that it means something else? Okay, then we have this bit. We have this multiple repetition of the and. It creates a rhythm. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. What sort of rhythm? Okay, is it harsh? Is it abrupt? Or is it something else? Okay, and then once you've worked out what you think that rhythm is, what does it then suggest? This rhythm suggests what? What does it suggest about their lives and their characters, who they are? Okay, so that's our title looked at, and that tells us a little bit about the poem itself. Now, before we move on to going into the deep annotations and the deep analysis, I want you to just answer the following questions for me. Super simple. Number 1, it's not actually a question, it's just a task. Number 1, list the conflicts in the poem. What are the conflicts going on in here? Number 2, list the harmony or harmonious elements. Things that are going well, the things that just feel right. So we've almost got a list of negatives and then a list of positives here. And then this might bend your mind a little bit, which is good. The first line, which also happens to be the title, so the work you've had a look at on the title here helps. Maggie and Millie and Molly and May, with this repetition, this lack of capitals, this group of children, this group of girls. Okay, the first line contrasts with the last line. Because, now, why does it contrast with the last line? You're going to be asking, what is the last line? The last line is this. It's always ourselves we find in the sea. It's always ourselves we find in the sea. How does the first line, Maggie and Millie and Molly and May, contrast with it's always ourselves we find in the sea? Okay, just your first idea. It doesn't need to be the perfect correct answer straight away. Okay, so once we've kind of got that sorted in our head, our learning objective is all about symbolism and tone. So we kind of have looked at the tone already, and it's got this childish, sort of innocent tone. Now, what I want to look at, what I want to then do is draw that together with the symbolism. Now, the symbols here are pretty clear. Okay, so I'm going to draw your attention to the first one, is this idea that we went down to the beach. And they went down to play one day. So the beach itself, with all of the sand and all of that kind of sense of relaxation, and all of these different things that happen here. So this is our beach. I'm going to give it some sand just because why not? Could have some other things. Going to have some, there's stones, just like a random part of stones. Why not? Got some shells. Okay. What is the beach? I guess literally, what is a beach? Sounds a bit of a weird question. The beach here, and we've got the sea here. Okay, the beach is where the land meets the sea. So what type of a place is the beach? Then what I'm going to say is, what does it symbolize? Actually, before that, what do people do on the beach? What do you do on a beach? Give me two things. What do you do on a beach? What do children do on a beach? What's the atmosphere? What's the atmosphere like on the beach? Okay, but then let's bring it bigger, okay? I'm going to try and ask this question that I got out here for the beach is symbolic of what bigger thing is the beach a symbol of here? Now it's a bit of a tricky one. And there are probably quite a few things that you could come up with, and all of them are probably interesting and all of them are probably right. Now, we'll come back to this first line later. What I want to get into now is the symbolism of the rest of the poem. So I'm going to pull out another quote here, which is this idea of the shell. So I guess I'll start with this image of the shell itself. And as I'm drawing it, I'm just thinking to myself, okay, so what are shells? What do they do? What use do animals have from them? Why are they important? What do they do for the animals that live inside them? Now, so we've got our shell here. Now a shell is a shell does. Give me two things for each. Okay, shell is what? How does it feel? Is it soft? Is it hard? Is it smooth? Is it rough? And what does it do? What's it designed to do for the animal that lives inside? Now, once we've got that in our mind, let's then have a look at the quotation. And the quotation I'm after is, discovered a shell that sang. Discovered a shell that sang so sweetly. She couldn't remember her troubles, so she forgot her troubles. Now, I'm going to start with this, because this shell has an impact on the character. She forgets her troubles. So what troubles do most children or most young people face? Okay, now give me 3. Just simple troubles. Think about any of the things that you might feel on a day-to-day basis, or that your younger sisters or brothers might feel on a day-to-day basis. What sort of problems might they face? Okay, well, this shell made her forget them. Now, this shell then, like the animals we discovered here, it does what to her? Give me 2 things. Okay. It sang so sweetly. This idea that it sings what does it do to her? So sing here is a verb, or sang is a verb. What could it be symbolic of? What things make us forget our troubles, protect us from the outside world? Okay, to do with singing. Art, but what else? What things make us feel better? Okay, this idea that it sang sweetly, the adjective here. Okay, it reveals the song is what? Give me 2 things. The song is what? So we have a shell that, when it's found, it sings sweetly, and that singing represents something bigger than that, symbolic of art and other things. And these things do what to us? These help all of us, because now, if you need a little bit more time, feel free to pause it. We're going to move on to the next one. The next quote. Oh no, go back. Nearly missed something important here. It was this verb here, discovered. And this is a nice easy one. This is a freebie. Okay, if she discovers things, she is what type of person? And that reveals childhood is what? 2 things. Childhood is what? It's a time when what happens? If you're thinking about the pivotal moments from last lesson, or the transformative moments from last lesson, you can build out those kind of thinking in here. Okay. So, let's flip it over. Let's have a look at the next one. And I'm going to start with the verb this time. So, in stanza 2, the first one was stanza 1, this one is stanza 2. We have this idea that she befriended a stranded star. Now, when we're talking about a star here, we're talking about a starfish, which are still kind of strange alien creatures, but there is definitely some kind of beauty to them, as odd and alien as they look. And they look a little bit like this if you haven't seen one. Definitely like a bit wiggly and a bit strange, but also kind of beautiful and odd at the same time. Okay, so in stanza 2 we've got this idea that she befriended this star. So this verb befriended shows she is what? Okay, give me two things. What type of a person is she? She befriended this star. And then take it a step further. Childhood is a time of what? And therefore children are what? Okay, the next one here we then have is this idea of something being stranded. If you are stranded, that verb means what? Are you with everybody else and with your friends, or are you left alone? And if you're alone, are you secure or are you vulnerable? Or are you like the boy in the poem last week, having been left by his brother? So this could be a metaphor for how some people are what? And what needs to happen to them. Okay, then we have star. Literally is a what? A star literally is what? But then metaphorically, when we think of a star in terms of symbolically, what could this thing represent? What two things could the fact that it's a star represent? That the thing that has been rescued, the thing that was stranded, is what? Okay. Oh, sorry, I need to correct that. I've written that is stanza 2. It's not, it's stanza 3. Get it right. We're going to have a look at stanza 4 now. Okay, stanza 4, we've got this slightly strange image of the girl being chased by a horrible thing. Okay, and through the description, we can probably assume that it is one of these. It's a crab. Now, if you think about what a crab looks like, you can make some assumptions about how she feels about that crab. And this guy has really attractive eyes on the stalks. There we go. So we've got this idea that it's being chased. So if you are chased, you are physically doing what? And therefore, if she is doing that thing, the girl feels. Give me 2 things that she might feel at being chased. Okay, now give me 2 things that kind of scene creates. And if she feels like this, she is also what? 2 things that she is. If she feels this way, therefore that makes her secure, happy, or something else. Thinking about your versatile vocabulary with this one, there's 2 perfect words that fit in here just nicely. One of them begins with this, and we also get a sense that the scene might be quite this. Now, this horrible thing, we can say, is probably a what? But the bigger thing is, it could be symbolic of what other horrible things might chase girls, or what experiences young people might have. So what other things is it symbolic of? And then give me a word to describe them. Those things that this crab might symbolize, are they moral? Or are they something else? The things that you might encounter in life. Now, stanza 5. We have this small polished stone, which is as small as the world, and as large as alone. So let's go for the real literal thing first. Hi, I'm a stone. A stone is, and a stone feels. Give me 2 things for each. Now, as small as the world, this simile shows that she feels what, or children can feel what. Give me 2 things. Okay, now, does she feel as if everything is secure and permanent here? She takes this souvenir. So this stone here is the souvenir. It reminds herself of the beach. But if this poem is about childhood, it could remind her about, it could be a reminder of what? What could it be a souvenir of? What could it be symbolic of? So what is it she's remembering here? Small as the world. Here she feels big, secure, or is she starting to feel something else? So which word from our versatile vocabulary today does she feel here? Does she feel permanent, or that her life and growing up is ephemeral? Okay, cross out the incorrect one, leave the correct one. The stone is also as large as alone. She feels alone. Give me 2 things that she feels if she is feeling alone. Don't just say alone. I want better than that. Now you might have words that start with I so or emo or vol. Now, what I want to do now is just have a look at that last line. It's always ourselves we find in the sea. And that is on stanza 6. It's always ourselves we find in the sea. Okay, with this one here, the sea, it seems permanent or ephemeral. But if we always find ourselves there, we, our identity, our personality, equals permanent or ephemeral. Okay, cross out the wrong one, keep the right one. Now, the sea, let's do some quick drawing and we'll recreate, but slightly bigger, that beach scene. The sea here we're thinking we've got the waves. The sea itself, this is a metaphor. The sea is times 2. The sea is, think about the size, the scale. Okay, and think about this, a big downward arrow as well. How can it symbolize our emotions? The sea is and symbolizes our emotions because, give me 3 reasons. Okay, so there's one way, first way that it symbolizes our emotions, second and third, with 3 different reasons. Now, on the other side of the beach, we're back with our beach umbrella. Hi, I'm a beach. It's got some footprints of someone who's just come back off sand, and those footprints are slowly disappearing, obviously. If those footprints are slowly disappearing, they must be permanent or something else. Now, this beach is full of sand. Here's a question for you. What does sand symbolize? Sand symbolises what thing, or the passing of what thing? So the beach then symbolises, because it's full of sand, what two things? Beach then symbolises two things. Okay. Once you've got that one, this reveals that people and childhood is what? Give me 1, 2, and 3 things. Try and use a versatile vocabulary for these ones at the end. I mean, we've absolutely smashed the word ephemeral versus permanent. Okay, really good job today. Okay, it seems like a simple poem to start with, but actually it's a tricky one. Well done.